This is Ramadan Pide, a type of pide traditionally made in Turkey during the month of Ramadan. It has become a symbol, especially for breaking the fast. And today we are making a simple homemade version of it. Let's get started. Salam, Nail here. Ramadan pide is usually softer, slightly sweeter and fluffier than regular pide, because it's made with more yeast and higher hydration, meaning more water. That's why it's traditionally prepared with a special flour that has a higher protein content. Here I have a stronger wheat flour. This one contains 12.8 grams of protein per 100 grams of flour. I've had the best experience with it. The goal of this video is to make a simple Ramadan pide that's soft, fluffy and absolutely delicious, all in a relatively short time, about 3.5 hours. This recipe makes one pide. I'm using 300 grams of flour and aiming for about 70% hydration. 70% of 300 grams is 210, so I'm using 210 milliliters of lukewarm water. To the water, I add 4 grams of yeast and 4 grams of sugar. Give it a quick mix and let it sit for a few minutes. Now I combine the liquid with the flour. I knead the dough in 2 stages. First for 8 minutes, then I let it rest for 5 minutes before kneading it for another 2 minutes. This helps with the gluten development. I add the salt only in the last 2 minutes so the yeast can settle in first. Yeast and salt don't get along too well. Next, I take the dough out of the bowl with wet hands to prevent sticking. My work surface is floured and I place the dough on it, fold it and shape it into a ball. I think that looks fine. Now I place the dough ball back into the bowl, cover it with a plastic wrap and let it rest in a warm place for about 2 hours or until it has doubled in size. During this resting period, gases form inside the dough. The stronger the gluten network, the better it traps these gases, resulting in a lighter and airier pide. It's been a little over 2 hours because I was filming other videos in the meantime. But for you 1.5 to 2 hours should be more than enough. As you can see, my dough has more than doubled in size. I now take the dough out of the bowl and place it again on a floured work surface. I fold it again using wet hands, this time more gently, to retain more gas inside the dough. Then carefully shape it back into a ball. I do this by slowly sliding my hands under the dough and pulling a bit of the top dough downwards. This way the dough gradually takes on a round shape, without being overstretched. It also creates a smooth surface on top. The smooth side will be the top. And now cover the dough with a large bowl and let it rest for another 30 to 45 minutes. This second proofing phase allows the gas to distribute evenly, which is key for a light and airy pide. At this point I start preheating the oven to 220 degrees centigrade, top and bottom heat, no fan, with the baking tray inside. I turn the tray upside down. This makes it easier to slide the pide on and off later. Alright, about 45 minutes have passed and this is what our dough ball looks like. Now I'll quickly prepare the glaze that will be brushed onto the pide to keep it from drying out and give it a nice shine. I add 1 tablespoon of flour to a small bowl and first pour in a little cold water. I mix it until smooth and lump-free, then add the same amount of boiling water on top and stir well. At this stage the mixture could already be used to brush the dough. There are many different recipes for the glaze, but for a more traditional Ramadan version I also add 1 egg yolk and a tablespoon of Pekmez, which is grape molasses, to the glaze. I transfer the dough onto a piece of parchment paper, sprinkling it first with cornmeal. I find that gives a better flavor in the final product compared to regular flour, and it doesn't clump as much. I now brush the pide with the glaze. The only thing missing now is the traditional pattern. Using my fingertips, I press firmly into the dough to create a ring around the edge. Then I press vertical and horizontal lines into the dough to form the characteristic square pattern. Of course, you can create any pattern you like. I gently stretch the pide a bit, since it still looks too compressed. This way we get a larger shape. Now all that's left is sprinkling some sesame and nigella seeds on top. Okay, that looks great. Now I place the pide dough into the oven. As mentioned, the baking tray is upside down, making it easier to slide the pide in and out. We'll be baking it on different levels. For the first 10 minutes I place the pide on the second rack from the top, closer to the grill element, so it gets more heat and rises better. As soon as I put the pide in, I place an oven-proof dish with hot water on the bottom of the oven and immediately close the door. This creates steam, which slows down drying and improves the rise of the dough. Now we leave the pide in for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I carefully open the oven door. Remember, there's a lot of steam inside, so keep your head and body out of the way when opening the door. It's best to open the door just a little at first to minimize the risk of burns. I remove the water-filled dish from the oven and move the pide directly onto the oven floor without the baking tray, so that the bottom of the pide gets a nice color. The pide stays there for another 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes are up, I move the pide back onto the baking tray so the top can get a nice golden color. My pide needed another 7 minutes on top to finish. After a total of 27 minutes, this is how it looks. A real beauty. I let the pide cool for a bit and cover it with a clean kitchen towel to keep it soft. About 10 minutes have passed and now it's much easier to handle. It looks amazing and is soft with a slightly crispy touch. Let's see how it looks inside. Nice. It's airy and fluffy, just as it should be. For the minimal effort and relatively short time, we've got an excellent result. I've tested this recipe multiple times and I'm really happy with it. My family loved it too, and I think for something made at home, it doesn't have to hide from any other pide. Of course, this pide can still be improved, but I'll save that for the next Ramadan. This video was all about making a quick and simple pide, and I believe we have more than met those requirements. Now, the only question left is what I'm going to do with this pide. Well, I'll be annihilating this delicious kuru fasulye with it. Oh yeah! You can find the video for kuru fasulye right here. Thank you for watching, and peace be upon you.